Good morning, NBC. This is Pastor Charlie Koo coming to you with the Word of God today. I'm reading for the portion of August 31st, last day of August, Tuesday, and reading from Judges chapter 11, verses 29 through 40. Reading from the NIV. Then the Spirit of the Lord came on Jephthah. He crossed Gilead and Manasseh, passed through Mizpah of Gilead, and from there he advanced against the Ammonites. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord, if you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph from the Ammonites will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. Then Jephthah went over to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gave them into his hands. He devastated 20 towns from Aroer to the vicinity of Minnith, as far as Abel Keramim. Thus Israel subdued Ammon. When Jephthah returned to his home in Mizpah, who should come out to meet him but his daughter dancing to the sound of timbrels? She was only a child. Except for her, he had neither son nor daughter. When he saw her, he tore his clothes and cried, "Oh no, my daughter! You have brought me down, and I am devastated. I have made a vow to the Lord that I cannot break." "My father," she replied, "you have given your word to the Lord. Do to me as you promised, now that the Lord has avenged you of your enemies, the Ammonites. But grant me this one request," she said. "Give me 2 months to roam the hills and weep with my friends, because I will never marry." "You may go," he said, and he let her go for 2 months. She and her friends went into the hills and wept because she would never marry. After the 2 months, she returned to her father, and he did to her as he had vowed. And she was a virgin. From this comes the Israelite tradition that each year the young women of Israel go out for 4 days to commemorate the daughter of Jephthah, the Gileadite. This is the word of the Lord. In my previous entries, in the quiet times, ruminating about what might be Jephthah's tragic flaw, because what ensues for Jephthah, even though he is a mighty warrior, he gains victory, but he has lost his only progeny, his only daughter, only heir, if anything. So now she becomes the point of our focus and attention. She becomes this figure of sacrifice. She never marries, and she has to be allowed that period of freedom and celebration before she is taken down as a burnt offering. Gruesome story, actually, when you think about it. There have been some people that have paralleled this to God testing Abraham taking Isaac to Mount Moriah to sacrifice him. But here's the thing. There's a big major difference here. With Abraham, it wasn't Abraham that offered Isaac on his own volition, whereas here, the Spirit of the Lord came on Jephthah, but he makes this deal almost. Even though the language says that it was a vow, he is offering with the presumption that he will be able to offer whatever comes out of the door of his house to meet him. What did he think? Did he think that it was going to be like an animal, like one of these, maybe like a goat would have come out and greet him? Well, it's a cautionary tale. It's a cautionary tale. When we think that we can somehow make these kinds of vows or deals to sway, because the way I read the story, Jephthah was already a mighty warrior, and that's how he's appraised by the text, and yet he felt that the need to make this kind of a deal. So later on, Jesus would say, "Don't make oaths, don't make any vows, because you have no control. You can't even turn your hair gray to white, or white to gray. I mean, gray to black. So it's a cautionary tale, and if I may be so bold to draw the main focal point of the story, is that everything other than him being born of a prostitute, he had a lot of things going for him, but because of the recklessness, perhaps the carelessness with which he thought he could make this dealing with the Lord, he has made a vow that he cannot break because it is the Lord. Um, it also teaches us that when you do make a vow to the Lord, you don't make it lightly, because it is something that it'll be very hard to keep. In this case, it involved the sacrifice of of his daughter. Now, another strange thing is how the story reads. It almost reads like a legend, but she is a figure, a sacrificial figure. Uh, if Jesus was God's only son, now we see this as kind of anticipating. It's anticipating the story of Jesus, and by the way that this young girl voluntarily goes to be sacrificed as a means to uphold her father's righteousness, is definitely one of the stranger parts of the Bible, and feminist scholars have had a field day with this. But primarily, I do read it as a cautionary tale. We do not need to make oaths or vows to God. He's the one that makes them and keeps them. And you have a wonderful day in the Lord. Hello?